Hello, welcome to the Paper Snob. This is Tara. Today I'm working on All About the Mouse. We have an inspiration piece that I'm going to post up here in the corner for you. And that is where we're supposed to take inspiration for our layouts this month. I am choosing the colors and I am using Tracy Reed's newest collection, I Voted. I have printed off two new sheets, and then for my design team project for her YouTube hop on Saturday, I had some of these papers and then of course the embellishments. Here's my photo, and I cut a cut file from Pear Tree Cut Files. It's a new subscription for me, but I really think that I'm going to enjoy playing with this cut file. I'm going to pause and I'm going to get started, and I'm going to back this cut file. I don't back them on camera, but if you've never used a cut file before, what I do is I just flip it over and I trace inside the lines, and then I cut kind of on the outside, so it gives me a little bit of a lip to add so that I can glue it down. There is a way to do it on your cutting machine, and I will do that sometimes if it is a larger background, but today I'm just going to do it by hand in that manner. So I'm going to pause, we're going to get started, I'll be right back. So I know that I wanted to put some ink on this layout, and initially I thought about doing the ink smooshing technique, but then I remembered that I had this border stencil set, and I decided I wanted to put the stars on the side instead to kind of go along with the collection that I'm using. Now, I know I said I'm using the color palette, but I did more of a pick and choose from the colors in that photo. I didn't use them all. There's some pink and look like there's some lavender, purpley colors in there as well. And I'm using shades of red, white, and blue instead of all of those colors. And I really think that's good. I hope Shannon doesn't mind that I only chose a few of the colors from the poster to use. So I've got my stenciling on there, and I'm going to add some Distress Oxide in Lumberjack Plaid. This is a really pretty color of red, and I need to remember that I need to let this dry longer because I do end up smearing these a little bit. It's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. So I got that on there, and next I'm going to go ahead and work on getting the background put together. This first piece of pattern paper I'm cutting down to 8 by 12, and then I'm going to cut 2 strips of this diagonal star paper. They're going to be 3/4 of an inch by 12. I'm going to grab the red or the stripe next, and I'm going to cut 1/4 inch by 12 inch borders with that. And then I'm going to pull in another piece that I printed after I had already recorded the beginning of this video. I decided I needed the red, and this is a red polka dot, and I'm cutting 2 1/2 inch by 12 inch borders from this one. You can see that I used it to back some of my cut file, which you will see when I bring in the cut file. It's already backed at this point. So now I'm going to go ahead and build this layout. If you like to have your layout perfectly centered, I like to center it on my Versamat, and then because this is an 8 by 12 inch, you're going to put it at the 2 and the 10 inch mark on the Versamat, and it gets it even. If that's not a problem for you, you just want to eyeball it, which I'm guilty of doing, you can do that as well. So I'm taking this 3/4 of an inch piece, and I'm putting it on top of the large, they're not really polka dots, they have jagged edges. I don't know what you would call them, but we'll call it polka dots just for ease. And I'm just putting it on the actual edge. Now, the paper that I print these collections on is very, very thick. It is Joann's 110-pound white cardstock. So I'm being very, very careful about the amount of layers that I put down because I know I'm going to be stitching on this, and I don't want to have to stab myself trying to get through the paper. For the 1/2 inch red border, I'm putting it on the outside, and then that 1/4 of an inch border I'm going to put on that 3/4 of an inch border on the edge, and then I will be stitching on the other side of that in a red DMC floss. It is, if you want to know which one it is, it's DMC 817. So I am going to stitch a little bit on camera for you today. I know I don't usually do that, but I've had a couple people ask, and so I'm going to attempt to give you some instructions and hopefully that they make some sense. So I've got everything glued down, and now I'm going to start some stitching. So I use a 12 by 12 piece of foam that I purchased off Amazon a couple of years ago, right after We Create. One of the ladies there had it, and she shared the link with us because it's harder to find the foam mats, and the one that I have and I've used to death is only about 4 inches wide, and I love having this 12 by 12 foam mat to use. The other thing that you're going to need is something to poke holes with. My paper piercer is from Making Memories, and it is very old, and of course Making Memories is no longer in business, so you can't find them. You can find other ones. I know that Allison Davis uses one with a wooden handle, and it's a little bit larger of a handle than the one that I have, and I do wonder if it would be easier to use, easier to hold, because more often than not, if any part of hand stitching bothers me, it's poking a bunch of holes. Not this little bit, but I have done full page stitching projects, and sometimes at the end of poking all of the holes, my hand hurts. The stitching part does not bother me at this time. So, I don't know why my phone just zoomed back out, but okay, you get to see my lap. Anyway, I am going to go ahead and get all of this stitched, and then I'm going to bring back in, and I'm going to do the actual stitching on camera as well. Don't you love my gray and white striped jammies? You were not supposed to see those. I don't know why the phone zoomed out. How weird. Okay, so that's one box of my embroidery floss. I have 2 of those now, and probably should be thinking about purchasing a 3rd because the second one is working on filling up. I don't sort mine by number, I sort mine by color. Okay, so next thing, I'm doing a back stitch, and you start in the 2nd hole, and for me this is actually the first hole that I poked because I'm going to wrap that thread around so that the stitching goes all the way to the end. So you go up the 2nd hole, you come back around the 3rd hole, you go back up, and you come back down the 2nd hole. Then you would go up the 4th hole and back down the 3rd hole, and so on. And I know that this is flipping through very quickly, and I'm only going to stitch until I run out of thread, and then I'm going to turn the camera off, and I'm going to stitch the remainder of it off camera. Otherwise this video would be incredibly long, and I don't want to waste your time with that. If you have any questions about hand stitching, just let me know. You can drop those in the comments below, and I'll get back to you. Like I said, this is one of the easiest stitches. It is the one that I am the fastest at, and it is the one that I use the most often. So the other thing I want to note is I choose to knot my thread on the back of my layout. I know that Allison Davis and her mom, Debbie Sanders, do not use knots. They use washi tape or some sort of tape to hold it on the back. The only time I use a tape on the back is if I get a loose thread or I get a knot on the back that's not supposed to be there. And that does happen. So here you see me knotting the thread, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it off, and when I come back, the stitching will be finished. Okay, now I'm ready to go ahead and build the layout, and I am not going to glue anything down on camera here. What I'm going to do is just kind of lay things out to give you an idea of where they're going to go, and then I'll shut the camera off and glue it off camera. I have backed my cut file. Now I cut this cut file out in a navy blue cardstock, and I backed it with papers from this collection. And I used the plaid, and I used the tone-on-tone star on the top and bottom, and then I used that beautiful red dot for the word day. Now I'm going to take a couple of the papers, and I'm going to use this punch, which decided to get stuck, and I'm going to go ahead and have some Mickey heads, and I'm going to add those to the layout as well. I am using 2 of the shooting stars and a couple of the other stars that are from Tracy's collection, but I wanted a few more Mickey style embellishments, and so that is why I went ahead and did the Mickey heads. I'm not sure why that punch is sticking. I'll have to get some wax paper out and run through it, or maybe use some tinfoil. We'll see which it needs. So I'm just gonna kind of lay these little Mickey heads in places I think they're gonna look cute. I thought I would use more stars than I actually did, but I am happy with the Mickey heads as well, because of course this is a Disney layout. And of course this collection was not meant for Disney. It is a patriotic collection for the election that is coming up tomorrow. And so I think it's really cool to use a collection that doesn't go with what you're scrapping. Alright, I got my layout completely finished. I did use quite a bit of foam adhesive. I started with it underneath my cut file and then put it underneath a lot of the other elements that I added. I really love adding the Mickey heads on here and using the Tracy Reed paper to do that. It turned out just the way that I intended it to turn out, and I really enjoyed this process. I want to thank you for coming to my channel today. I really appreciate those of you who are here with me, and if you are new here, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please give me a thumbs up. That tells YouTube that my content is wanted and needed, and makes those algorithms do their thing. So I would appreciate any thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions for me for this layout, just drop them below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I will try to have the link to this collection so that you can purchase it at Tracy Reed Designs store. It is her newest release, and now that I'm on the design team, I need to be promoting her new releases. Not that I wouldn't anyway, because I actually have purchased so many of her collections already. You guys have a great rest of your day. Bye!